Pasha Pyro, YNet7 moment. Having a YNet7 moment. Thank you for tuning the replay. I know I got some good ones for you today. Give me a second here. Let me pull the Facebook up just in case there's any comments to address. Give me a second. I'm going to tell you what we grade get into. All right. Cool. All right. So what, I know a lot of artists. You know what? Now you're going to start it off like that. What we're going to do is I want to show you how normative social influence is I'm gonna put it like this. We as a people have to take more responsibility, and I'm going to show you this using the views of random people, right? And I've taken the liberty of blocking off the names to protect the innocent and all that good stuff, right? So that we can keep them out of the factors. But I want to use their opinions because it is shared by many and will illustrate the opportunity that we have as a people, right? All right, so let's get to it. I'm going to start you off with this. We're going to go here, okay? And I blocked off all the comments we're going to review, the name and everything, because they're not a public figure, okay? Now, we have Judge Carlos Moore, which from what I can see represents a good-hearted person in this position. Now, since I'm speaking to my entire audience, I want it to be known that people get into positions for different reasons. I mean, you got people that maybe had something tragic happen in their life, and maybe somebody in their family was murdered in cold blood, and they decided they wanted to become a cop to chase bad guys, quote unquote, as a result of that, right? So in their mind, they're going to become a cop to stop innocent people from dying. And then when they become a cop, the cop book says that you also got to do these traffic stops and stuff like this if you want to be a cop, right? So that they may be engaged in activities that they didn't necessarily sign up for because of what they're in a position doing what they wanted to do in other areas of it, if that translates for you. Okay? So I can't speak to the nature of, his methods or his motivation that led him to arrive in this position. But he's in this position, and he's doing the best that he can in that position, and we'll leave it at that. I have invited him, at least in text and in the comments, to, like I do many people, to have a conversation, especially on YNet7, if applicable, and we'll see if he responds and if that becomes a reality. So let's review this situation here, because in reviewing the situation and then reviewing the comments of the people, it led me to want to have this discussion, because I have this, there was nothing said in these comments that some of us haven't seen before, and some of y'all know people that have said the same thing, if it's not some of you guys that are actually watching, whether it was past or current state, that you felt like this. And I want to use this opportunity to talk about all of this as a whole, okay? Because if what we can learn from this, if we can share this opportunity, this learning opportunity, and then apply it to the whole dynamic, man, you want to talk about empowerment for the people, you want to talk about change. All right, let's get into it. So that was the backstory. So the judge's post says, today, a 17-year-old young black man appeared before me and pled guilty to speeding while driving 54 miles per hour in a 30-mile-an-hour zone. Since it was his first offense, I decided to put him in my Do Better ASAP, which is Alternative Sentencing Accountability Program. Okay? So one, he's got a program, whether he created it himself or it was done by the department, but he's saying it's his program. So I know some people are going to have that thought in their mind, so I just want to clear it up how that part is irrelevant. He's got a program called the Do Better ASAP program that he's accessing and putting this person in, okay? Putting this man in, okay? So he said he's a high school senior and has several B's and one C. He also has previously made a 16 on his ACT, okay? Whatever that is. So as part of his sentence, he has to make at least an 18 on ACT, pull up the C, or pull the C up to at least a B, write a 500-word essay on dangers of speeding, and he must learn to tie a necktie. Yep, he was dressed up for court, but had his necktie pinned on because he does not know how to tie it properly. I told him to make an appointment through my court clerk to see me or Mayor Chuck in the city that he's in, and before he returns to court March 1st, and we will be glad to teach him. Let's wish him well as he attempts to do better ASAP. Great plug for the program. Great plug for opportunities that judges have to, give people opportunities, right? Let's just put it like that. So now what I want to get into is I want to showcase. See, now this sounds great, right? This sounds really great, and people are applauding the situation, which they should, right? Now, what you guys know, my core YNet 7ers, right? My core critical thinkers, is that I'm of equations, not variables, and I have spoken before about the dangers of the community wanting and seeking sympathy. This is not empathetic. You know what I mean? This is sympathetic. Okay? By definition. Now, by seeking sympathy, that is not us standing up in our proper that's not empowering the people. Okay? And because we can't, and we'll go over some of the comments here. I have a few of them. We're going to spend some time with this. Stay with me. Now, it's 1:51 p.m. on the East Coast, so for everybody that's at work, when you get off of work, this will be right there for you to listen to on your drive home or your travel home, whatever it is that you think you're doing. But we're going to go into this. I'm gonna show you a bunch of stuff. We're gonna look at what driving is. You know we are. Come on. You know I won 3 court cases myself, right? All right. So driving, I've never driven in my life. I've always traveled. I didn't know that at some point in my early 20s, but when you look at it, no, can't say that I have. All right. So today, a 17-year-old, right? Young black man. First of all, we just did a video recently talking about certain terms, explaining status and jurisdiction, explaining your nationality. So enough said with that part right there. Appeared before him, the judge, and pled guilty. So he pled guilty. He said, yeah, I did it. But what did he plead guilty to? Speeding while driving. Now, being as though he's 17, he most likely wasn't being employed to operate that automobile. Let's just say he wasn't employed operating the automobile. Well, that would mean that he's not a driver. Hold on one second here. I had everything else prepared. Let me get this on the screen for you because I'm going to add this in here for you for it to make sense. All right. Let's take a look here and make sure I'm on the right spot. Okay, cool. And let me do this here for you. All right. So here we have driver. All right. Okay, let me get this over here for you. All right, there we go. All right, so here's driver. Driver, what is driver? This is from the Law Dictionary. Right here. One employed in conducting a coach, wagon, carriage, or other vehicle with horses, mules, or other animals, or a bicycle, tricycle, or motor car, though not a street railroad car. Okay? And then it gives you the nice little case citations. Now, there's actually 2 other paragraphs that go along with this in the real full complete definition where it elaborates on this. But we can stop right here with one employed in conducting, okay? Driver. So now let's go back to the original post. So the young man, right, pled guilty to speeding while driving. Okay? Only a driver can be driving. You see what I'm saying? 54 miles per hour in a 30. All right. You see where I'm at? Okay. Let's go here now. Let's go back here because what is speeding? And what we have here is this. All right. From the Law Dictionary. All right, because I know you like your sources and where they come from. We have what is speed regulations. Okay, and it says these are various regulations in each state that regulate the speeds allowed for vehicles on the roads. Okay. And it says for more on this topic, it give you some more terms and all this stuff, right? Now, let's do this. Let me take you here. And we're going to now look at traffic. Okay? Traffic, because what happens if you speed, right? You go to traffic court, right? So traffic, it says, is dealing with commerce, trade, dealings in merchandise, bills, money, and the like. So where do you see anything automobile? Where do you see anything about going from point A to point B in your life? But you go to traffic court for speeding. Why? Because it said speeding are the various, or speed regulations are the various regulations allowed for, which regulate the speeds allowed for vehicles. Okay. Hold on a second. All right, I'm back with you. Okay. So that's regulated for vehicles. And for the people that you guys have already know, we covered this in another way before, or you are aware of this part, bear with me. We're going to get to the other commentary very shortly. So here's why I bring that up. Because then, right, here's what people don't do. They don't go to the United States Code, right, itself. Okay. And they don't go to the definitions to say, hey, I had to pull this up for you so you can see. This is Title 18, Section 31, or Code 31. Definitions. All right. So if we scroll down to motor vehicle, it tells you here the term motor vehicle means every description of carriage or other contrivance propelled or drawn by mechanical power. And you got to know the use of words. So it didn't say comma or, right? It said and. So the term motor vehicle means every description of carriage or, here I am right here, means every description of carriage or other contrivance propelled or drawn by mechanical power and used for commercial purposes on the highways in the transportation of passengers, passengers and property, or property and cargo. That is when you have a vehicle. That is how your automobile becomes a vehicle. And it could switch. Like you could, if you're using your automobile to Uber, then the moment you start Ubering, then you now have your automobile becomes a vehicle. The moment you stop Ubering, even though you didn't even turn the car off, switch cars, you now are in your automobile. And I'm not an attorney. This is just entertainment for you. If you need an attorney, then, I'm not giving any legal advice. I'm just entertaining you with some wordplay here, the meaning of words. Okay? So now that we've got that clear, let's go down here and see what it means when it says and used for commercial purposes. Well, here it goes. The term used for commercial purposes means the carriage of persons or property for any fare, fee, rate, charge, or other consideration, or directly or indirectly in connection with any business or other undertaking intended for profit. So let's go back to this post here. Okay. So it says, today, a 17-year-old young black man appeared before me and pled guilty to speeding while driving .54 and a 30. And then he tells how he gave an alternative sentencing, right? Which included, you know, I hope the youth was being honest when he told him he had B's and C's. Because if he had like D's and F's and was just, you know, trying to put on a good show, then to actually have to pull up the C to a B, it's going to be a difficult challenge, which is part of his sentencing. You see? So that might become problematic for him if he was not in honor when he told those details. Okay, so he's got some alternative options here. Now let's look at some of this information because I want to go over the power of community, really. All right. So I'll start here. And like I said, I blocked out the names so people can be protected. All right. So this one says, imagine how many black with a capital B. I mean, we talked about it here. You already know how it is. But look at the reality of people. This represents someone that's sitting next to you at work. This represents someone who's going to have a conversation with you, and you may try to help enlighten one day, and you're going to have to deal with these variances in opinions, and they're going to feel like their opinions are facts. Okay, but let's take a look at it. So it says, imagine how many black adolescents could benefit from targeted prevention methods focused on guiding and transforming behaviors rather than turning them into felons. These are the breaks black youth rarely see. We need more judges focused on the right things. Prevention, and this is where it gets, you know what I'm saying? Everything up to there, you know, you already know, right? And then this is the thing they said. So we need more judges focused on the right things. Prevention and rehabilitation. I immediately thought of the young man sent to Rikers for allegedly stealing a book bag. He would be alive today if he had met a concerned and caring judge like you. We need more of this. So see, my concern with this, right, is the mentality that the judge is liable. It's easy to say when you have a situation like this. It's a whole list of comments of people commending the judge. Now, what we know here on YNet 7 is you don't create the expectations because they set yourself up for disappointment. So the same people that are 200 people deep in the comments saying, congratulations, we need more like this and stuff like, a concern, the judge, when they make their next ruling next week or tomorrow, or maybe the case after this one, no direct relation to the judge that started this, right? This post. But when they make that next case and they rule by the book, these same people will turn on them and they won't be as favorable with the outcome or the comments, or they won't comment because now it's not something that they, you know what I'm saying? And the question is, that's a problem because one, it creates an unrealistic expectation for the judge, right? Because now you got the community viewing that seat, the person that's in that seat, the general public is going to apply this to their character, and then when they see the next ruling, it's going, in their mind, it's going to be in conflict. Now, how they really respond to that, reality wise, like we went over earlier, they may not say nothing, they may voicefully be against it, but it's going to start from their own application of this view of character based on this one case when they deal with thousands and thousands of cases a year. So now you're holding the judge, asking for more judges to be like this, which, yeah, that would be great in a way, but also it's an unrealistic expectation that only sets up the general public for disappointment when it can't be adhered to. All right, let's continue. So my response to that was, to so-and-so, there was mention in the Simon Sinek book, and this is what I be doing. You know what I mean? This is what happens when we have opportunities, right? And I know a lot of people don't do this with their free time. A lot of people will judge you and say, oh, we don't see you out at these events, at an event or something, talking to the people. It's because I talk to the people all day long, every day. And whereas to go to a couple events here and there and locally, I'm reaching people, we're reaching people on YNet 7 across the nation. Like, so we're bringing this opportunity to communities that are thousands of miles away from us because we all need this exposure and experience. All right. So it says, there was mentioned in the Simon Sinek book I read how companies, and I'll add communities to the equation as well, celebrate those who it should have been step up, but setup still works in the pandemic, and overlook those who warned how to avoid the panic sometimes years prior to. All right. And I say my point. Now, I'm from the school of thought, we don't call them your honor. We refer to judges as my honor because they represent our honor, we the people. All right. Whether you know that or not. So, what my honor has done is, in this example, is honorable, true. Also, it creates an unrealistic goal on that seat the judges fill. We as a people need in advance to prepare 5Ps ourselves to properly navigate such experiences. Once more people properly operate within the system, there will be less opportunities for abuse by the system. And see, as I mentioned, I've gone to court when I needed to, and I presented my own cases, and I won. And in one of those cases, I'll tell you what changed my life from a mental standpoint, because one of those cases, the judge stood up and gave me a standing ovation, straight up. He was like, "Oh, before he didn't say it like this, but he said, before I give you the deliberation or whatever on your case, I wanna stand up and I wanna talk to you about something, right?" And he basically stood up and told me how well I had presented my case that day, and how well articulated I was, and all this stuff about how he wished more people, more Americans would come into court and conduct themselves as such, right? So, despite the fact that you have people that turn on you in your circle, especially when you're entering in entering into that knowledge for the first few times, for the first time in your life or what have you. But so they kind of you become outcasts. But when you get into these positions and have these conversations, they know the truth. So, but they know that their hands are tied, and it's up to us to make a difference. All right. So let's continue. That was number 2. Okay, so here's what I get back. This judge, now keep in mind, I don't apply tone to text. I just focus on the words. But and they responded, and this is a strategy and execution leader. So you would we're having conversation with people, and this is, what I'm saying? That's why I don't do titles. But let's look at it. This judge builds humanity into that position. What he does, if you follow him, is look at the infraction, right? That's what that is. Give me a second. What he does is look at the infraction, right? Oh, okay. I see why it's doing that. All right, got it. Never mind. I was distracted by something. Excuse me. So, what he does is look at the infraction profile of the client as he has done here, and applies education, actions, and consequences in the form of prevention, which should be given to all people. You see what I'm saying? Right? Okay. So consider this. Now this is where it went left. You'll see it in a minute. So consider this, and my example is not a one-off. A judge is presented with a white male college athlete who has raped a co-ed. His education, action, and consequences are the statements that his life should not be ruined and given probation. Another case, a young black college man meets a young white girl in the club. They go back to his apartment where no intercourse occurred, yet he is sentenced to prison because she, in a club, was underage. 2 young white males, 13 years old, film themselves raping a white teenager. They are set free because they are underage as well. The tragedy I mentioned in my original post. I'm saying that we need more judges who try to rehabilitate and prevent future deviance, right? And save the lives of our children. We make many foolish mistakes in our youth. Some we can overcome, some we cannot. But this judge sees young men and women as worthy of redemption and gives them a chance to be better human beings. It is his humanity. Now, see, this is what people do. All right? This is what people do. Because I said in the beginning, the judge's actions in this case was honorable. Let me go ahead and continue here. All right, hold on a second, because this is bothering me. Excuse me, one moment. All right, this will do for now. Hold on one second. All right, cool. So, no better. Yeah. All right. So, right. So it's being said that, the judge builds humanity into the case, right? Which I never disputed or anything. Actually, I kind of agreed to. Now let me get the next image up here, and we can talk about it. So that was that one. And then here we go. Okay. So then I said, your response seems to imply that you've overlooked that I said the judge's actions were honorable. So we agree there. Now, to me, when a lot of what I do here on Y-7, the purpose behind it is to empower the people through emotional health and mental health, which starts with our, a lot of our emotions are thrown crazy, whether we are in control of them or not, because we don't know what's being said to us, and then we react instead of respond. So let's go through this. I said I will not comment on the nature of the cases you present prior to review of case citations. However, I note your emotional attachments. So the nature of those cases are incomparable to traffic court. There's a huge difference between traffic court and a rape case. All right. So I'll say this: to have a crime, there must be a victim. You must have injury. Injury also means to be wrong, by the way. Right. So despite the outcome of those cases, referring to the rape cases, initially on paper, there was a valid claim of injury. Okay? Even if the accusations were false, the claim is that of injury and someone claiming to be a victim. All right? And that's where, the judge and the attorneys and the everybody involved should, be working to find the truth in that case and make those cases and make an accurate, and the jury make an accurate decision of what's going on there, right? So, in contrast, to continue here with the post, in contrast, speeding is not a valid claim of injury. There is no victim. When you read your documents properly, the state, right, which could be the affiliated police, department or whatever is claiming to be the victim. That's why it's you against the state of. All right. So now, if you crash into something, injure someone, or damage property, then there's a victim. Okay. If you go 125 miles an hour down the road while you travel without injuring anyone, without damaging anything, who's the victim? All right. So it is not the system's fault. I'm continuing with the post here, and I had to do it this way. I know it would have been easier just to go to the post and scroll down, let you and highlight so you can see where I'm reading. But I had to do it this way so I could block out the names of the people. All right. So it's not the system's fault that the people agree to things that aren't true and sign a contract without comprehension. I mean, your neighbor does this all the time when people talk shit about you and they don't know shit about you either, but they agree with what they saying. All right. So there's a few other ways, I could pick apart traffic court, but that's just what I gave them. Because although I have the respect of a few judges, you have to read in between the lines sometime. Okay? So bottom line is, relative to the judge's original post, if the outcome was less favorable for the young man, we shouldn't fault the judge or the system, yet ourselves. See, nobody wants to take ownership for their actions. It's easier to say, yeah, we should get more judges like you so that we don't have to be responsible for ourselves. Right? Because, all right, let's continue. All right. So there it goes. I read that you said his actions were honorable, and this would be irritating me with people. It's like, you can't fault people for what they don't know, but here's the opportunity to learn something, right? Because what I said was, oh, by the way, the way you responded to that was like gaslighting. Because when you make comments about, oh, if you know them or if you've been following them, and I'm implying tone now, but I don't read stuff with tone, right? So when you say, oh, comma, if you follow them, even if you take the tone off of it, we're speaking on the post. So like, obviously I follow to see what's going on and to interact with, that community, because I like opportunities to advance humanity, so to speak, right? It's why you don't see but a certain type of people around me or with me, because I don't have fear, of having these conversations, even despite your title, and you'd be surprised more often than not the viewpoints of some of the people in certain titles that are what you wish the people around you felt all along, but they don't. Like, your neighbor will attack you about the stuff that when you go to court the judges applaud you for knowing. This is why we can't get nowhere. Okay? And I applaud the people that are growing in number, who are doing things in their own way to upgrade the quality of life, so to speak. Okay. So my thing was, okay, there's a response. I read that you said his actions were honorable. How could I not see that? So I don't know how you could not see that, but you sent you know you sent me. All right, hold on. I'm gonna read through this for you because this is. There's somebody who said these same things, and I'm gonna show you what the reality is of that view in this conversation. So as we go through this stuff, know that there's somebody in your circle that's represented by something we're going to talk about here. And this is maybe what we need to all come together and sit down and look at to see it clearly for the first time is what it is. Okay? But this is what's hindering us from advancing. So they said, I read that you said his actions were honorable. How could I not see that? But then I read on, right? And my response, you see, but then I read on. What came after that? Let's go back. Because this is why we don't get nowhere with certain people. Nope, not that one. This one. So it says, here it is in the middle, my point, right? What my honor has done is, because I need this to be fresh. How simple and boom, right? What my honor has done in this example was supposed to be is honorable, true. And it also creates an unrealistic goal on that seat the judge fills, as we the people in advance to prepare 5 P's, proper preparation prevents poor performance, ourselves to properly navigate such experiences. Once more, people properly operate within the system, there will be less opportunities for abuse by the system. Now, keep in mind, that's what I said. The response given was this. Judge builds humanity. It's very defensive by nature, even without the tone. Okay? And what he does, if you follow him, that's all gaslighting. It's like trying to, make me feel like I didn't know what I was talking about or why I said that. So they gave this whole spill, right? Remember, all I said was, hey, the judge was honorable in his actions, but it's up to the people. We need to become more accountable. I mean, if you want to even make it even shorter. So the response was all this stuff, went into some rape cases that ain't got nothing to do with what we talking about. And, they went back to, justifying the judge credibility and everything, which I never, infringed upon anyway. So look at this, right? So no, they respond to, I read you said his actions were honorable. How could I not see that? But then I read on. See? It's like, this is what the human mind does to, if you don't understand why you're having these thoughts sometimes, we need to stop and think about, why am I having this thought? Why do I feel like this? Because you have a auto response generation device in your head that justifies what you want to believe, right? So then, but then I read on, and my response is specifically to those other things you mentioned. What were they? What were those other things that you mentioned? Because nothing I said justified why you came back with 3 different rape cases. Start talking about black and white people. Oh, we're talking about traffic court. So when you are in these positions, right, where you wind up having these type of conversations, look, this person is not connected with the conversation. They're connected with something they feel about something they saw, about something they think they believe, from something that ain't got nothing to do with you or the conversation you having right now. This is why you have these disconnects. They expect you not to be sharp enough to realize the chess move. Or maybe they don't realize they're doing it. Okay? But this is why we don't talk to a lot of people. Okay? It says, but then I read on. And my response was specifically to those other things you mentioned. Like, as far, and I know I don't do tone, but I'm just kind of making it, so you can watch it and understand the humor in it from our standpoint. But also we're going to address the danger of this as well. So as for my emotional attachments, yes, I am emotionally attached about humanity. No, I'm talking about your emotional attachments to the court cases you brought up that didn't have anything to do with the topic that you brought up, which didn't have anything for the conversation where I agreed that the judge, did a nice gesture. So you're running around this whole circle, song and dance. Now you're talking about you are emotional about humanity. No, this is not this. But people reading this stuff, and we just did the video on Facebook controlling the conversation. This is the danger once we start getting to this stuff. Because, we'll allow this, but let's keep the truth off the screen, right? So, because what other things were emotional does not diminish my ability to understand the nature of the situation and apply consequences. The nature of the cases are not incomparable because we are speaking about behaviors and actions of the judges. Listen. Okay? I understand you feel the way you feel about this particular judge. But I don't care what judge it is. They're not I'm going to say chances are they're not judging a rape case the same mentally or screening the details and particulars as they are a speeding ticket. Okay? I mean, we're talking about two different, totally different. If you don't see the difference between a speeding infraction and rape, we need, right? But people will try to make these arguments because it's easier to talk around in circles than it is to simply accept the truth for certain people. You have to see this stuff with your own eyes, especially if you're not out there fighting this fight daily and having these conversations often enough to know that this is how people talk to you. This is what people really think. They really think speeding is in the same ballpark as rape. And that the judge, right, whatever judge you want to pick, is going to approach the cases the same. I'm not talking about, if you go all the way back to the great equation of I'm here to look for the truth of the matter and find out we're going to rule based on the truth. I'm not talking about that simplistically. I'm talking about you're dealing with a speeding ticket, nobody injured, no crash, no damage, just speeding versus rape. I mean, come on. All right, so look, right? Let's continue. I need you to see what your mind is telling you that makes sense when it comes from another vantage point, because this is what our society is doing to each other. And this is why we can't get any further as a whole. And it's pathetic. The nature of the cases are not incomparable because we are speaking about the behaviors and actions of judges. In one, the citizens were so excuse me. Look at how contradictory this is. Okay? The sentence right before that says, we are speaking about the behaviors and actions of judges. The next sentence says, in one, the citizens were so outraged. And I know they say at the lack of consequences, but it goes from the behavior and actions of judges, and now we flipped it over to the citizens. You don't understand that you're contradicting your point, because it's not based on the judges. You're really talking about the citizens were outraged, which you're emotionally charged, so you're not seeing the whole picture, at the lack of consequences. You can't. We don't even know what those cases, what those cases were about. Like I told the person, I can't speak on that without seeing the case citation, without seeing the ruling, without knowing the infinity of what led up to that decision. But this is what people do. So that he was ousted and the young man sentenced accordingly. The judges have a wide breadth in terms of sentencing. I'm saying that this judge is a model to follow, whatever the crime, which is not a fair statement, because you can't apply how he ruled on a traffic ticket of speeding in comparison to how you think he might rule on a rape case. You see, I mean, like, they don't even. Now, look at this. The judges have a wide breadth. I'm going to say breadth. It could be breadth. She could be trying to say it could be girth. It could be a bunch of different things she's trying to say there. But basically, they have a wide span of options in their sentencing. But the thing is, my issue is, we're supporting a sentencing. I'm not going to say we. They're in support of sentencing because they don't realize this shouldn't even have been a crime. The speeding one. I'm not talking about the rape stuff. The speeding. And look at the fight that's being put up here to justify what is still wrong. The lesser of two evils, so to speak. To accept the lesser of two evils. And again, this had nothing to do with the judge. He did the best he could probably in the situation. I'm not, I ain't gonna say, maybe he do or don't. Well, I ain't gonna say that. He did something. He didn't completely throw the man under the bus. Right? So anything less than that is you should be grateful for, right? If you don't know any better. So let's continue. I'm saying this judge is we went there. When he created this program, and I haven't talked to him, so you don't know. I mean, that's really what you're saying. Like, I can say, I don't know. I didn't talk to him about this program. I opened up with that. I don't know if he created this or if it was a program that was there. I know we had like diversion. We had things in Delaware. I don't know who came up with that. Right? I'm sure a lot of different states have options like such. So I can admit, I don't know. But here we go. All late and wrong. And I haven't talked to him. I'm sure he looked at the opportunity to help nurture potential and prevent small infractions from escalating to larger ones in the future. What was gonna, if it's a small infraction in your mind, what was gonna create, how was it going to escalate into larger ones in the future? So either it wasn't a small infraction and it was a large one. Because if you get a speeding ticket, I mean, that doesn't. All right. But it sounds good. And that's what that's what this is really about. That's why I showed you up front what the law says, where the law is. Because I at first thought I was like, yeah, I'll show them that afterwards. But I didn't want you to sit through all this and think that I was just being opinionated. Right? So I showed you first the context of the law. And now I'm showing you the context of human emotion and opinion in contrast with the law and what you're going to have to go through when you're American. See, this is U.S. citizen mindset. Oh, yeah, I'm glad that someone else can take care of us. American says, no, I'm responsible. And by the way, you know, you're viewing me wrong. I wasn't speeding because I wasn't driving. All right. So then they go as for gaslighting again. This is not a fit. So basically, they're saying that because they don't understand gaslighting either. They don't understand how they're trying to force me to feel like I'm wrong and agree with their side. When in half of it we're saying the same thing, and the other half of their conversation is totally out of bounds from the scope of the conversation, but they're blind to it, so they don't see none of it. All right, let's continue. Where do I want to go next? Let's go here. This is pretty cool. So this was from a self-employed attorney commenting on that original post, from the judge. And they said, I wish black youth who come before judges were given second chances more often. Usually the book is thrown at us. Very wise decision, Your Honor. This is from an attorney who probably also thinks that, or may be referring to themselves as being black, okay, as well. All right, if you were to see them. So the comment that he left was, I wish black youth, which there we go, right? Who come before judges were given second chances more often. Usually the book is thrown at us. Very wise decision, Your Honor. Now, what that did for me is I thought about that. I said, damn, they've been telling us the whole time you get the book thrown at you. And I said, like, literally, I never thought about it like this before. That's why I like interacting with people, even in cases like this where some of them are ignorant and don't realize their ignorance, because you still have an opportunity, even though you are at the level you are of awareness, you still have an opportunity to learn, you know what I mean, more. So when I saw this, I said, damn, they do be saying that is the quote, you know, the book thrown at you. And I said, well, what if we caught the book and read it? Maybe look at the irony of that. Maybe they threw the book at us so that we could read it, so we wouldn't be falling into the same position again next time. Maybe it's always the perfect day, and we got to figure out what we're doing wrong. Let me see what's next here. Okay, so it says the reason. So this is another person separate. All these are responses under the original post from the judge. Okay. So it says the reason so many black youths are felons is because charges that should be misdemeanors are escalated into felonies, then forced to accept plea deals due to inability to pay for expensive lawyers and unwilling to take the chance of their fate being decided by all white juries in most cases. This is not by accident, but by design to intentionally disenfranchise us. This is their way of maintaining the status quo, a way to keep us from voting and owning guns. Most have never gotten a chance to say one word in their defense after their arrest. Okay? So my response to that was blame stems from the emotion of grief. Because of that mindset, pacification is the current forest fire you smell in many communities. It's easier to blame others than to put in the work. I encourage the exploration of this maximum. Mundus vult discipi ergo discipiatu. I may have not said that right, but look it up. There is much stated in your comment that we the people are responsible for doing ourselves to ourselves. So again, we already did the video that covered the title of black, right? Then it says they're being forced to accept plea deals, and it talks about misdemeanors. Okay. Now, you can see how what they're saying is accurate. I'm not going to speak on the always being all white juries, but it depends on what your definition of white is. You know what I'm saying? You got to start there. But we have these emotional attachments to things. So it says this is not by accident, going back to what the initial, what I replied to here. It says, this is not by accident, but by design to intentionally disenfranchise us. And see that this person is definitely a lot closer than the first person I showed you. They were just like, what the, but, the issue is we actually are already disenfranchised by the time we get there to this position to be at court in this manner and to be pleading guilty to speeding tickets. We are already disenfranchised to arrive at such a point. Okay, so the opportunity, this is where I was speaking earlier about the 5 P's and the proper performance, proper preparation. See, we got to prepare ourselves, regardless of what you look like or who you think you are. You have to prepare yourselves. And maybe that starts with your mothers and fathers and other family members preparing the next generation. But if we can't clearly articulate to each other what the truth is without emotional impasses, this is why they remain. This is why this is how the people lose as a whole. Okay. Let me get the next slide, please. So they respond. No, this actually came later. Hold on. It's out of order. So this one. So I said, I one of equations, not variables. Translation, the only way to speak the truth is to consider the possibility of infinity versus emotional attachments to beliefs which limit our, it's supposed to be ROUR, view of any said realities. The value added of the YouTube channel, YN7, shameless plug, is rooted in etymology. Being an artist, I see the value in the true vibration of words. Point is, once we understand words we use every day means something different than what we think, it becomes easier to understand the law. To do this, we must set our emotions aside and find truth. What if the words you are using are part of the problem and solution? What if it was that simple? What if it was that simple? Think about all the money you and your family done paid out for traffic related bullshit. You know, if you want to go as far to why this happened to this group of people, that group of people, all this stuff that you could, conjure up. What if it was that simple? How simple? What if the words you are using are part of the problem and solution? What if it was that simple? So I specified a good comprehension of the Christian black codes will have you understanding why I'm American, not black. So your stats for arrest of black people may be valid, yet when we apply the failure mode analysis, we may find that many signed a contract without being familiar with the terms and conditions. That's more like user error of the user interface, so to speak, not the API coding. You see, because going back to the original post, the quote unquote young black man first agreed to being black when the court said it, right? Then agreed to being guilty for speeding while driving. So he signed that contract. That's what I mean. He didn't know what those words meant. And that's the community's fault. The same way you treat someone that sold you a car for $2,000, $5,000 more than what it's worth, and charged you the highest interest rate possible. That's the same way this is. There's no difference. He signed that contract. So then they respond. Often those who sign these contracts are between a rock and a hard place. Damned if they do, damned if they don't. Often comes down to the lesser of two evils. Actually, this one came before. When I went back and reviewed it, like some of the stuff was out of order. You know, I don't know. That also messes up the flow of the conversation. So I'm not saying they're purposely misaligning or misinformation as well, like we talked about with the Facebook the other day. But if it doesn't fall in order, then it throws the reader off. They can't really follow along in the conversation. But this, I think, actually came before that, and then I responded about the contracts with that. So let's continue. Let's see where we are. Where are we at? B, C. Excuse me. So we continue, and I say, hey, proper preparation prevents poor performance. And then they responded, well, how do you prepare for something you are not even aware of? By the time you learn the game, it's already too late. They got you in the system. And you know what? That's true for the first person that it happened to. And that's why I followed up with this comment. Each one teach one. Exhibit A. We just happen to be talking under the judge. My little Virgo humor. But Exhibit A. By the time you learn the game. So if we have the ability to say that anyone learned the game, we no longer have the excuse to say that the next contestant shouldn't understand it better. But this is U.S. thinking. U.S. citizen thinking. Someone else is responsible for me. Well, okay. And then let's go to this one. Or let me see here. No, that's a different one. Let's go to this one. And then at some point in there, they responded. Okay, so somewhere in there, this order is a little fuzzy. I try to get the other ones numbered properly. But the somewhere in there, they say, you mean a community that is over-policed. Not that every black youth that is arrested is innocent. However, the rate at which we are being charged with felonies for the same crimes that whites are being charged with misdemeanors is disproportionate. Let's just use the weed arrest as an example. Whites and blacks consume it at about the same rate. However, if you are black, you are 4 times more likely to be arrested for it. You can apply this across the board. I live in a predominantly white town, just as many white criminals and drug dealers here as when I lived in the hood. However, I don't see the same police presence. And that, you know, you got to understand, you got to look into the terminology you're using. What does the word black and white mean in law? If you're going to classify them as such, you need to understand what that contract is all about. And see, you didn't say Americans. You didn't say U.S. citizens even. You said black and you said white. They are not referring to skin color. And that's part of our error. We have emotional attachments to beliefs. I'm not saying they didn't help. I'm not gonna say they didn't help install the beliefs into you, but you got emotional attachments to beliefs of what things mean without knowing what they're really meaning. So for those that know what these terms are, your whole statement here makes complete sense. And I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about the titles. Okay, I'm not saying that people that look like me should be put in jail 4 times more often. I'm not even saying that's a fact of the amount of times. Okay, what I'm saying is that title, black, you got to look it up and find out what it means. You got to look it up and find out who you're saying that you are to understand why you're being treated a certain way. And then the really messed up part is because so many people don't know what that title means and they claim it, they might see might see me, or police might see me, or until you articulate it to them, they're gonna assume I'm black because you don't know no better. And then I gotta deal with, nah, you got me mistaken. You got me fucked up. Right? And people like me. You got people that you may call white from what this is saying, who are really black. Or who are really U.S. citizens. All right, let's move on. So what we got? We got that. What's this one? Okay, so this one here, they're responding to the original post. They say, "You are awesome. Love it when people in authoritative roles do things like this." Okay, this person looks, like me, right? And my response to that was, because here we are again. This is something different, but it's all part of the same. It's all part of the same giant illusion, but it's microcosms of it, right? So the etymology of the word authority, the book or the quote that settles the question. And I responded to someone earlier about the book being thrown at the people. And I posed the question, what if we read it? And I didn't expand it out here. But basically what I said in that quote was, if we caught it and read it, right, then we would be filled with the authority. If we read the book, which was the authority, and they threw it at us, we would be filled with the authority after we got done reading the book. So we wouldn't have to give our power over to someone sitting on a bench because we think they're the authority when all they're doing is referring to the same book that we could refer to ourselves. Because the book is the authority. The quotes from the book are the authority, not the people, not the titles, rather. And then so she responds, genius. And you guys know how I feel about comments about being smart and or whatever. So because there's other people that was watching, of course, that was, you gotta let them know they fooled themselves, right? Because when you see, this looking all American, and you see the title under there, recording artist, they think, you know what I mean? We're not gonna assume, but you know. So this is how I responded to that, though. And if this is your first time watching and this is your first time hearing this from me, this is how I feel and what I've said often. So although I was in the advanced gifted program studying Greek mythology and analogies in 3rd grade, won 3 medals for top 10 finishes in events, National Science Olympiad competition before high school, and recently tested in the top 2% of the nation, I avoid terms like smart and genius. I see it as experience and exposure. If we all had similar experience and exposure, we would be more similar. After all, the only thing that separates people are our thought processes. I see you are here as a learning leader, and then I offer the connection, to help teach more people, help learn, even if we're just doing emotional health and mental health. I mean, let's do it. So this is what happens often. I get to invite people for opportunities of what we could do together. And sometimes you don't ever hear from them again, right? Local people, because especially once you start talking about the truth, like this right here is this was kind of interesting, right? Check this out. It kind of ties into what I was just saying, because you offer people they talk, but they don't really want to do, especially when it jeopardizes their pocket. You see what I'm saying? A lot of people don't want to ride with you and be an American because they're so worried about getting paid from the United States or their relations with the United States. So here we have a person that says they're initially responding to the judge's post, and they said, this is exactly why my nonprofit, and I blocked out the name, was named a 2021 CNN Champions for Change. Right? All these titles. And then that's what's sad. Sad means satisfying, but that's what's unfortunate is people connect with titles more than they do action. And the people out here putting down the action, they get overlooked because the people with the titles don't want you to see them sometimes. Or just because your own brain's justifying that there must be something wrong with these people because they don't have a title. All kinds of stuff. But that's another conversation. And we went over that. Check out one of the videos me and Trish did. So, yeah. My son drove my passion to push and encourage young men and first-time offenders to do better and give them tools to do just that. I applaud you for your kind of justice. You are a true champion of change to come. So I said, hey, because she's got a group of young men. I was like, hey, I would like to invest in your program by speaking to the youth, if that could be arranged. Left my email address. The interesting part about this is they actually came to my page. It tells you who comes to your page. So they came to my page and looked at my profile, but they never responded. And see, I don't use this platform that much. This where I'm getting this from. I just started using it, so it's like really underpopulated, right? As far as content for me. So it's easy to make a decision of, this recording artist don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and they're just, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that's what they thought or not, but I found it ironic that they would come and look at my page but never comment when I was commenting directly to them. This is how people do. You see what I'm saying? They're going to come check you out, and then based on what they see, they form a belief. Who lost out? And this what really bothers me with people with so-called like nonprofits and these organizations that are supposed to be here to help the youth or help this, that, and the other. Every time they get an opportunity to really help, This is, silence, because they not really trying to help. They trying to be favored. Okay? Sometimes that's why. So I said, hey, later on, 2 hours later, right? I said, hey, thanks for visiting my LinkedIn page. I just recently, and I explained it to her, I just recently started investing time in this platform. If you Google me, it's going to bring up all my music stuff. But if you're considering how I can add value, check out the YNet7 channel where I'm dropping all the knowledge without sending them all over the place like Facebook and all this stuff. Because that's where you can see a concentration of that for you guys. Team you. You know what I mean? So I'm like, yeah, I saw you came to my LinkedIn page. I mean, you ain't say nothing to me. So if you want to make a real accurate decision of content that I have to offer, here's where you should look, because it's not necessarily on my LinkedIn. Some of it is, but you gotta fall down the rabbit hole and stumble into it. Who's gonna do that when they're just trying to make a judgment of you? And I'm not saying that that's what they did, or that's why I haven't heard from them, but I found it interesting that they didn't respond. They didn't, nothing. Not even like, hey, let's see if we can, nothing. But they took their time to go to and preview my page. Okay, so that's the type of stuff we're dealing with when you're introducing people to concepts that may be foreign to them. All right, let's see what else I got here for you guys. Dope shit going on here. So here's some healthcare advocate advisor at insurance giant, right? It says, excellent service you gave this young man. If there were more judges such as yourself, this country would be in greater shape. So again, here we go. My honor did a great deed for the community. I want to add value to your comment and your community by saying it is unrealistic to place such responsibility on the judges. We, the people, must step up ourselves to be able to conduct business on such a level. This would reduce pressure on the judges while empowering the people. Of course, you get no response to that immediately. Maybe they'll have something to say later. Let's see, we're on I. All right, so here's a COO of some organization. I left some of the titles on there because I wanted you to see the type of people. You got all types of people, and it doesn't matter what your title or level is. They all are missing some truths. And this is why when you talk to them, but then what's this, like I said, what society, some parts of society does, they're going to value the title, and then they're going to be like worshiping them. And this is what happens when people in positions don't really have, they don't have the authority in them. How can you properly lead people when you don't know who people are? Teaching is caring. We lose too many young people across all spectrums when we shut them down just to punish them, By the time they are hardened into criminals and criminal activity, the journey back is less likely to take on the first attempt. You know what they're trying to say, so don't crucify them. So punishment commensurates to the first offense committed is not wrong, and there should be a component. Then they said sunshine and rainbows often follow thunder and lightning. All right. But here's where it gets good, and I'm going to address what they said in the beginning. So where are the parents in this loop? With all due respect and appreciation for what the judge is doing, parents or guardians have to be a part of the solution and may need to be part of the program in some way. So in the beginning, I don't understand how you could tell who's close to who, you know what I mean, in the world. Because how did we get from a traffic ticket, like people in one side of this coin here, People need to stay focused on topic and stay focused on the actual actual value. Like we're talking about a speeding ticket here, and the guy's initial response. Now this guy wasn't what you would call, probably referred to as black. So I'm not saying that had anything to do with his conversation, but we're looking at his conversation here. And what I first see is how are we bridging the gap from traffic ticket for speeding to hardened criminal? I mean, like, why? Where did this come from? Probably because could it be coming from a connection to what people believe the word black is, even though that's not even true? Now, we know there's a whole separate belief, but I mean, where did it say anything about becoming a hardened criminal? I mean, even if it was that tragic of a speeding ticket, the worst thing you do is lose your driver's license. How does that become a hardened criminal? All right. But the good part about this coin is where they said, where are the parents? So my response was, the question is, how does a community, I should have put educated, I meant, educate the parents properly, because many of them have emotional attachments to the way their parents saw life, even if illusion. So it's easy for people to say, when it comes to like eating habits, and you'd be like, oh, this diabetes run in my family. But no, that's not what runs in your family. In most cases, it's the family recipes that were handed down. And this is what we eat, and grandma made it like this, and mom made it like that too, and then I'm making it like that too, and you're wondering why the family keeps dropping like flies. So what I'm getting at here is, what if we apply the same philosophy? This is why I'm saying we have to address the people. You can't help the youth if you don't help the parents understand, because the parents are going to try to force the youth to conform to what the parents believe. So the parents have the wrong belief. Trust me, I know firsthand. They're going to try to impose that same ignorance by default onto the next generation, even if they think they're doing the right thing. And there was a lot of posts. I'm just, I commented on a lot of them, but I'm only showcasing the ones that I think really drive home the impact of this. Here's a little humor for you. This person, a president of a company now, supposedly, right, says, "Thank you, Judge Moore. Let me know where I can help." How about in your community, fam? How about right outside your door? And if you don't have time or don't see nobody out there, how about you, make a video? How about you share this video? Like, let me know where I can help. This is what people do. It's someone else's responsibility. You got all these people posted in here. Like, this might be like literally like the post I'm showing you. I don't know. There's probably a lot more now, but it may have been only like 5% of the total amount of posts that was on there. I mean, comments under that post. So you got all these people commenting. You ain't networked with none of them to see nothing, right? And again, this is not an attack on the individuals, but we all know people that this is what they're gonna say. Start in your community, man. And if your community don't accept it, then keep going until you find the people that entertain it. And I'm not even saying you gotta be there to hold their hand, because the reality, we need to go research this on ourselves and be accountable for ourselves. So if you give them the key, then they go off and run with it. That frees you up to go help the next person, which is why I'm all the way on the West Coast helping people from here, from Charlotte. You know what I mean? I'm in Charlotte helping people when people in Delaware, not all of them, but there's people in Delaware before I left that didn't want to hear the truth. So because they didn't want to hear it, and I'd already helped the people that did, that I was able to go on to the next people and help them with the opportunity. This is why I value the community of people that's growing, that, you know, really respects my music and my craft, because they understand the words, right? You got other people, they don't know the power of music, and all they want to do is twerk or something. Or I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's a time and place for everything. Conscious people, I'm sure there's some conscious women out there that, you know, dance, right, in their own way. But when you know the words, it's more powerful than just sitting there saying, what is he talking about? Right? So, all right, let's see what we got next. We almost done. All right, so this one here, principal. Look at all these letters after the name. I don't even know what that shit means, right? He's a PMP, right? A principal at an LLC, digital transformation specialist. Like, these are the people that you could be talking to that's gonna not know. Despite how much they know in this area, this is how much they don't know about society, but they'll try to tell you why you need to be a certain way in society. So it says, Your Honor, there you go. So he said, we need more judges like you. The so-called criminal justice system is in need of serious reform. In many cases, we are spending far more to incarcerate than educate or job train, and the cost to taxpayers, it's always got to be about money, right? What about the people? Anyway, so the cost to taxpayers and the impact on society is tremendous. We need to rethink, reinvest, and take a hard look at what type of ROI we're getting on our taxpayer dollars. First of all, you don't even know how the system works, because taxpayers ain't paid for shit. But you don't know how the Treasury and Federal Reserve is set up, so you don't understand that the taxpayers ain't paid for nothing. They borrow that money every year in totality to use on all their programs. The government, that is. What you consider a taxpayer is merely paying the interest on the total of the loan. They haven't paid off any of it. That's why the national debt, your national debt keep going. That's part of why what you think is the national debt keeps climbing. See how emotional attachments to beliefs fuck up everything. Even when you feel like you right, you wrong, because you don't know what you're talking about. But you know what I'm saying? Take the time to know what you're talking about in its entirety. There's so many people that say the same thing. So many people. I see it so often. I heard it so often. So many people say the same thing. They want to, and their focus is money. They're not even worried about the human being. The taxpayer dollars is more important to them. Do this for them because it would be cheaper. Not do this for them because it's right. It's fucked up. But it sounds so good. Got 3 likes. You don't see nobody liking what I said. I'm used to that. Because nobody likes the truth. The truth hurts. So anyway, look. I said, this is a success of classic cause and effect. Privatization of any business comes with a focus on increased profits. And we just went over in a recent video how convenient we just went over the privatization of the prisons. So privatization of any business comes with a focus on increased profits. Actually, I mean, that's really probably true for any business. It's about profit. Even nonprofits are focused on profit. Excuse me. They just account for it differently. They just call it something different. That's the business reform needed. Other than that, we need not blame the justice system for what we the people allowed through ignorance. That's what I'm saying. We always want to blame somebody instead of ourselves. All right. Let's keep it moving here. So this one was pretty interesting. So glad. Now this, again, they're responding. The top one there is responding to the original post that I showed you in the beginning with the judge. And then I'm commenting under that post. So glad the offense allowed room for such creative sentencing. Like, what the oh man, hold on. So thankful he came before a judge with your calling. So here's my response. Yes, let's all be grateful he got this judge this time. What if it wasn't an offense unless we believed it was? Would we be will we seek less sympathy and more empowerment as a community? How would you advance the social equity? Because their title here, or whatever it was advancing social equity by improving higher, right? Really, and see, I'm not trying to be funny. I mean, but when you put on here that you're a specialist or your specialties is advancing social equity, I'm actually asking you, how can we advance the social equity here? This is what people don't, maybe they don't, one, because they don't understand the truth. Some people think you're trying to be smart or funny or whatever. No, I'm being serious. Like, I don't pretend to know everything. So, hey, you're advancing social equity? Damn, that sounds like you're doing big things that I might be able to help translate to the community for. So, hey, how can we advance the social equity? You know, 2 hours go by, no response. I bet you if I say, hey, look, I'm looking to invest in companies advancing in social equity. I'm a philanthropist. I was looking to give away $200,000 this year. I would have got a response in 10 minutes. This is why America is losing respect for the United States. Let me see what's next. All right, so here's an investor, philanthropist, and political advisor. See, like I said, I talk to everybody and anybody. You know, I remember when I was working at the last place I was at, you know, I would have conversations. People would have conversations. We would be having conversations together, and they would ask me stuff, and I would tell them the truth, and they would look at me like I'm crazy, and then they would think maybe by mentioning it to the plant manager, you know, which is like the head guy in the whole plant, or it could be a woman, you know, or to my supervisor or something, that they were telling on me, you know, no need. I already talked to him about it. I already let them know this is who I am. That's why there's going to be this limit in how far we're going to go this way. And we're going to keep this here, right? Everybody up and down the ladder. The regional HR supervisor knew my status very well. Because we had conversations. I can sit down and talk to them. And we can have a conversation about it. You'd be surprised how often they feel the same way and or are supportive of certain conversations. So when you come back and think you're telling on somebody, it only makes you look dumb. All right, but look. Wonderfully creative and just, which is going back to, keep in mind, they're saying that it's wonderfully creative and just how you came up with this sentencing for something that's not even a crime. Wonderfully creative and just, you are amazing, and I pray more judges follow your lead. we're still sentencing people for things that aren't crimes. Granted, the guy pled guilty to it, so you can't blame the judge. He just did the best he could. But he's not accountable or guaranteed to need to make the same creatively just situation next time. If you plead guilty to driving, then you pled guilty to driving. But these emotions we have as a people cause all these disconnects. We should all be on one accord when it comes to law, at least. So, my response to this: yes, it was an inspiration. Are you willing to invest? Remember, this is the investor. Are you willing to invest in a way to take some of the pressure off the judges by instilled accountability in the people themselves? It would increase innovation and GDP. Let's have a one-on-one via Zoom or Teams to discuss the business need. Let's see if I hear back from them. Because often there's no money in the solution. There's no money in the cure. The money is in the treatment. All right. Last one. So this person is a consultant, right? And it says, I commend you for all that you do to ensure our young men are not deemed are not deemed let's say unredeemable before they even get into the real world. Truth is, they're already there. So my response to that was, hey, we need to come together as a community to assist the judges by preparing, should have been ourselves, to conduct business on such a level. This takes the pressure off the judges, reduces the expectations based on unrealistic goals. Like I said, you want to put this responsibility on the judges. It's only going to set you up for disappointment when you find out that there's this other case that was kind of similar that they didn't put them in the ASAP program. Maybe that person came in there and said, you know, F you, judge, I'm not guilty, but he didn't know how to properly articulate it. So the judge was like, hey, since you were really coming in here thinking you being an asshole about everything, you know what? Here's your, and he would be right to do so. I mean, he would be within the range of what's acceptable per the book, right? To respond that way. But these people that are sitting here saluting him for this, if you throw that case in front of him, are you going to feel the same way when he takes that man's license and then causes him to, or not that he caused him to do it, but then then he winds up losing his job because he's following the law, let's say, and he doesn't travel to work via his own automobile anymore. So he winds up losing his job. And then I seen the story on like TikTok that was talking about how I ain't gonna waste your time while I find it, but it was talking about how they ran it was a funny thing. And they said, hey, the food was wrong that they ordered. They was like, oh, no problem, we'll send it back. Hey, and they were like, no, don't do it. I'm gonna eat it with the cilantro, even though I don't like cilantro. And they were like, why? Why would you do that? And they were like, because you go back there, you send it back, the waiter comes back and takes it, tells Jimmy the line cook that he cooked the food wrong. Jimmy the line cook was on his second strike. So he gets fired because the food was wrong later on. He gets fired. He was a recovered alcoholic who starts drinking again, right? And then because he starts drinking again, his wife leaves him. That leaves the son they had, little Timmy, without a father. Little Timmy grows up and goes through all this stuff because he doesn't have a father in his life. And then little Timmy decides when he gets older that he's gonna find Salad Karen and come back and get rid of her because of what he, you know what I mean? And that's really what we're looking at here. But what I'm getting at is this wasn't even a crime to begin with. All right. So the judge is not responsible. The judge is not responsible. The judge is not required to show favor. All right. And what they're all, from my observation, what at least the ones I've spoke to, the 6 state prosecutors that I won my case against, that one in particular, one case I had 6 state prosecutors sitting over there against me at the table by myself, because it was just me with my little briefcase and my Bill of Rights and my book, Constitution book, and my counterclaim. And I was in there on my Perry Mason. And afterwards they said, hey, you should consider becoming an attorney. And we laughed because I said that would change my status. And they knew what that meant. Okay, so yes, many are applauding my honors act today, yet would frown upon him if he ruled by the book next week. We must take responsibility for ourselves. I know this as I've received standing ovation, basically stuff you already know about me if you're a White at 7 follower. All right. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. All right. So this is the type of stuff I do. This is why this will greatly reduce your friend count, quote unquote, if you think you have friends. So I was talking about other people's responses to the judge. This was my response. So, given the nature, I applaud you and your choice in this matter, and I know the limiting factors of your commitment. In public, there are many emotional attachments to beliefs and response which create unrealistic expectations for you, future state. Speaking to someone who has won 3 of my own court cases, had 6 state prosecutors tell me I should become an attorney. And, I mean, they came over and shook my hand and everything. Like, that was well done. You know what I mean? Because I was on my shit. They lost. I cross-examined the state's witness, which was the officer that issued the ticket to begin with. I mean, everybody in that room was impressed, but then my friends are calling me crazy. My mother wants to get rid of me because, you know, she don't understand when when you say you're American. So she don't want to talk to you anymore. She's like disowning you. So you go through all this stuff with the people around you, but then the people that know the truth, they want to congratulate you. So you torn for the rest of your life because the only people that really appreciate you, I ain't gonna say that, because there's the community of people that, like, you know, are in the knowledge that I have, but outside of that, you know, you're torn. It's a torn situation. And the only people that lose are the people that's attacking you. I mean, you know, you gotta go through it, but I mean, you ain't really losing nothing. So anyway, let's see, where am I at? Yep. All right. So I know you can't help people alone forever. Like, he can't do that every single case. Eventually he's gonna get a knock at the door from his superior saying, look here, this is a business. I mean, we supposed to be making some money here. Your quota down. So here's the stage. So many who choose operating in proper persona do so at the risk of losing friends and family due to normative social influence. How can we work together to make your job easier and the community stronger? Would you be willing to have a conversation with me on my knowledge channel on YouTube on a topic that you feel would be value added to the community? I built the channel off etymology to enrich emotional and mental health. I feel like that's where we need to start to empower the communities beyond current state. And I left my email. You know? I know it's people out there, you know, in my position, and, you know, you're an artist, you're supposed to be out there doing this, that, and the other. This is what I do in my free time. All right? Not on here reviewing last night's game with you. I'm not on here doing this stuff. I'm not running around at the media, music media, press. You know what I'm saying? I missed that one because I was doing stuff like this. This is why I became an artist, so I can connect with more people on a level that otherwise I wouldn't have reached if it wasn't for music. So hopefully this was therapeutic for many people. I wanted you to see the pros and cons. Yes, the judges are trying, but their hands are tied because they're a judge. I mean, you can go to Popeyes all day long. They can't give you a burger. So like in the very beginning when the lady was talking about, rape cases, listen, that's not going to be viewed the same way as traffic court naturally. Like that don't even make. Anyway, you ain't getting hamburgers from Popeyes, okay? So you're going in there, and the guy, the young man, signed a contract, didn't have any idea what the words meant. The judge did the best. I ain't even gonna say that's the best he could, but he did a great deed for him. But we can't, he's not, the judge, whether it's male or female, is not responsible to make that same call next time. It's not guaranteed to. And we shouldn't have put that pressure on the judges, saying that there should be more judges like him. There should be more people that know how to go into the court and conduct themselves properly when needed. Then the judges don't have to decide because the authority already decided decades, centuries ago. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Pasha Pyro, YNet7, thank you for tuning the replay.